You're watching the TCMMA podcast.
I don't have time for it. This is where y'all got to help me out, right? This is why I like the chat. Y'all got to keep me updated. You're asking me if I know anything. I'm asking you if you know anything. Nobody knows anything about what's going on with McGregor. Werewolf MMA. What fights could they even add? Would they make Yuri versus Alex? Maybe. Maybe. But I think Alex is looking up to heavyweight now. I think he's dead serious. But the conversation has kind of calmed down because John Jones wants to fight Stipe, which is just crazy. He's just doing what he did in the light heavyweight division by just delaying these fights, and holding up the belt. But he can do that. Another one waiting in the chat room. Chandler has to fight if Conor is injured. Can't keep waiting. Yeah, I mean, they're going to put someone else in there against Chandler. And if they do that, then they're going to have to come up with a big title fight situation or a big fight on very short notice. I mean, this pay-per-view is not next month. This pay-per-view is like now. UFC 303 is in the same month. Like, if McGregor were to be injured, again, we don't know. No one knows. So you're asking me for news. I'm giving you, the news I know, which is absolutely nothing. What up, Bruner? I see you in there. What's up, man? What's up? But yeah, when it comes to McGregor, we don't know. But if McGregor can't go for some reason, which I hope he goes, but if he can't, they got to do something with Michael Chandler right now, and they got to announce another fight immediately. They got to announce another fight immediately, and maybe that's why no one knows what's going on. Maybe that's why there's going to be a 24 to 72 hour window here, 1 to 3 days, where everyone's speculating and no one knows. Because before McGregor can come out and say, hey, I'm out, and everyone starts saying, hey, I want my money back, that something's got to happen. Something's got to happen. So, there's probably a lot going on the inside. King Terzi. It's just insane that we don't know what's going on. I know. And it's a big deal to cancel the press conference in Ireland, where McGregor's from. McGregor wants that. The way McGregor rolls, he wants that press conference. Something is going on. We just don't know what it is. There's no way it could just be something small, right? It's got to be something big, because don't just tell me that it didn't work out and all this or whatever, what they're saying. We got to know what's going on, and we don't. We have no idea. And if I'm a ticket holder right now, I'm freaking out, which I'm not. Terzi said, yeah, this is like UFC 300 all over again. They would need something like Alex versus Yuri 2, which wouldn't be a bad bet, because Yuri's going to be much better than his first fight with Pereira. Right? Yuri's going to be much better than his first fight after coming back from the injury. He's already better. Now he's just going to go to another level, higher and higher, and that's going to be an ultimate matchup eventually. Nunes versus Harrison, BMF. Yeah. Chandler versus Holloway. I thought of that. Diaz versus Jorge too. Yeah, because wouldn't that be funny if they, because they pushed back the boxing, didn't they? Or no, that was Tyson. But I know something happened with Diaz and Masvidal. What if they just said, hey, forget the boxing, we're going to double the pay, and we need you at UFC 303 to save this thing? Very possible. Listen, all these things are possibilities. And we can speculate, and then tomorrow we'll find out it was all for nothing. But, it's fun. Bruner says, I'm not worried about 303. We got Aliskerov next week in the fight night co-main. Then we got Khamzat the week after. 303 small potatoes. Yeah. Yep. But as long as they have these pay-per-view events, the pay-per-view event is huge, because you're talking about selling pay-per-views and ticket prices going up in attendance, right? And that's why the UFC 303 thing is such a big deal, is if a lot of people have paid money because McGregor's fighting. And that's a very crazy thing if something were to happen, right? There is still a chance Conor is fighting maybe something family related based on his Instagram post. See, I didn't see the Instagram post, so you're gonna have to elaborate on that. I'd really like to know what he said, rather now than before the podcast is over and I go look it up. But yeah, man. And if it's family related, that would lead back. Maybe that's why Daniel Cormier said what he said. He read into it a little bit, right? That there may be a lack of motivation for Conor McGregor. So I'm curious in all these things, and I want to know if he's fighting. Um, Back to Khamzat for a minute. I'm very excited. Khamzat's fighting. It's just that, and it's scary, but I feel like it's a foregone conclusion that he's already won. It's now on to who the next opponent is, and it comes down to how Khamzat wins, right? And I know a lot of people disagree with that because you still got these diehard Whitaker fans. I mean, people thought Diaz was going to beat Khamzat. I mean, Diaz would have been in some serious trouble against Khamzat because Khamzat would have just, I think, even abandoned the takedown game and just went straight 2 minutes or less KO on him. I was kind of happy for Nate Diaz that fight didn't happen. It bought him some time. Conor posted with his kid and wife saying, "Thank you, God." Okay. So I see what you're saying. Cryptic. Yeah. But he always, even when McGregor's at his craziest, it always seems like he knows what he's doing. He's one step ahead of all of us. Like, and maybe I'm getting a little crazy on that, but it just seems like McGregor already knows that everyone's freaking out, and then throws out a cryptic Instagram message, just gives you just enough, but not enough, and then we're all speculating, right? And he knows it and loves it, and probably any one of us in that situation would be doing the same thing. All this stuff, everything that surrounding McGregor, like a Trump, really, is like anything that happens just makes the event bigger. Like even when it's bad news, it's like great news. Because the media is going to be all over it and the speculation is going to run rampant. No doubt about it. Mr. Softy's back. That's so true. Conor is always a step ahead of us. So I wonder what it could mean. I know. And I think he wants us to wonder what it means. Like he knows that we're trying to figure stuff out, and he's giving us just a taste of everything. He reads the blogs and news. He knows what's going on. He's well aware. He's probably, quite honestly, just training for the fight while we all flip out about the press conference. He's probably just doing his normal thing. Could Chandler be the one who's hurt or injured? Or is this all Conor? Contract negotiations stall? See, and if it's contract negotiations, as I said yesterday, I'm not worried about that at all. They'll get that handled. I really believe it. Not a problem. McGregor, what do you need? Okay, no problem. That should be how simple, unless he's gone off his rocker, which I doubt. So that can be fixed within 1 to 3 days. Anything else, an injury, can't be fixed, but they would also not let us know for 2 or 3 days because they can't just say McGregor's injured, he's out, and let us all start freaking. They'd have to say he's injured. It's going to be Alex versus Yuri 2, or it's going to be that. It's got to be like simultaneous, if that's the case. So all this stuff, it leads into the timeline that it's possible as to why we've heard nothing. Conor has them by the what with the contract now, so this would be the time to be like, Dana, now you have to pay me to save this event. I don't think McGregor would do that to Dana White simply because Dana worked with him on the fight with Floyd Mayweather, which was the beginning of the change in McGregor's life. I mean, you could say, yeah, the company he has and these other things, yeah, obviously. But when he got that Mayweather fight for that kind of ridiculous money, that put him in a whole new level. And then the stuff he did with the company, that raised it even further. So, like, I don't think he's going to do that to Dana White when he's already paid. But, when you watch a Netflix special, Forever McGregor, you do see that McGregor does not like sitting on the sidelines. You see, he's presented in the media as, oh, he don't want to fight. this, that, and the other. And then I carry on sometimes thinking the same thing, like I am right now. Fact is, he does want to fight. We've seen it behind behind the closed doors. When the documentary came out, we know he wants to fight. Absolutely wants to fight. So it might be, I don't think it's as much about money as it is like we need to get organized as far as going forward. I want to fight every 6 months. Or I want not 3 fights in infinite time. I want 3 fights over the next 12 months for this much money. Something like that. And that could cause the UFC to say, well, we haven't done that like that before. And dot, 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 dot. And we got to figure this thing out. So, that could be very well what's happening is the contract negotiations have always made the most sense for me. Or it's just something minor with the logistics of having the press conference. They just decided we're not going to do it. The only problem is you sold tickets. So that's a little wrench right there. Okay. But the contract negotiations make the most sense for me. We really don't know. What about this judging situation with the UFC? Something has to be done. Yeah, it was absolutely crazy, Bruner, at UFC 302. You know this as good as I do. You had 2 fights, split decisions, which is the only way this can happen, so it had to be a split decision, where 2 judges went rightfully with the person who, not even close, like dominated the fight, right? Sean Strickland was one, and then there was another one earlier, and I can't remember exactly who it was right this second, okay? So Sean Strickland wins 50-45, 49-46, totally dominated the fight. Then you get a third judge who went the other way, 49-46 for Costa. And Strickland turns around and looks at Buffer like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what are you talking about? The commentators are like, what are you talking about? Everybody's like, what are you talking about? And again, what I've said from the beginning when I started following MMA is I want to live to the day where this sport becomes like every other sport, okay? And you have a final score at the end of the fight. All right? I hate when a guy dominates in significant strikes like 150-90 and loses the fight because he lost 2 close rounds and then maybe he came out in the first round and dominated like 60-2, went crazy. The other fighter comes back and wins like 50-45 in significant strikes the next 2 rounds. So it's very, very close, but in the overall picture, the other guy won, right? I want points, man. I want a point for every 10 seconds of control time. So many points for a takedown. Significant strikes are this much. Head strikes give you a bonus of this much. And you're just watching this score move up, man. You're watching this score move up and the clock tick down. And it's like 190-180 with 20 seconds left. And this guy needs to get 3 big punches in or needs to finish strong, and these guys are wailing at the end because the points are going up and no one knows, and the clock ticks down to 0, and it's 200-98. This guy beat this guy. Like that is what we all want to see, and they keep talking about open scoring and seeing the judges' scorecards don't change the end result. Everybody gets so upset with that, like the fighters don't know, and they don't. Man, they're fighting. These guys are getting demolished and still think they're in the fight, and you don't see them finish strong. If you can look up and clearly see, like, man, I got my butt whooped in the first round, but I can still come back, okay, in the points over time and still win this fight. Or if I dominated the first round, I'm way up in points, okay? I need to keep my eye on those points. I just want to see a point system in the UFC. So, Bruno, you brought up a good one. To me, I need a point system. I know everyone's calling for open scoring. We have to start incentivizing finishes. We have to start looking at judges as the field goal kicker in football. And I think we do. Because listen, I grew up a Florida State fan, okay? And I know exactly what you mean about the field goal kicker because I sat through about 4 or 5 times when Florida State went wide right or wide left or whatever against Miami. In fact, one time I paid like $2,000 while I was in college, probably all the student loans I had at the time, and flew down to Miami for Florida State, Miami, and Florida State's winning the whole game. They end up going down by like 2 at the end, drive down the whole field, line up the field goal, multiple timeouts. It's great. And I'm on the side of the field goal, so I can't judge left and right. The field goal was blasted through the upright, only to find out it was wide right. So I'm jumping up and down like it's good, and the whole stadium in Miami at the time at the Orange Bowl started going crazy. And I just couldn't believe it, man. I couldn't believe they missed that. And I paid the money to watch that happen. So, yeah. So I understand you're at a big MMA fight, your guys fight and whatever. You see him dominate. Okay, to me this happened to Angela Hill twice. You see him dominate, and bam, the judges go the other way, and it's like, yo, 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 what's going on? I mean, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. MMA saying that will be a cool scoring system. Yeah, and I don't know how we do it, and it wouldn't be perfect either way. Because if you get too many points for control time, then you're going to have opponents. You are going to have the negative side of that is you are going to have a guy look up and say, hey, I'm up by 20 points. Let me go ahead and get a takedown and hold this guy down for 2 minutes. But to me, that's nothing different than running the ball in football, and you're pissed because your team can't stop them from running, and the clock trickles down, and you never get the ball back. So that's just part of the game. I'm not going to be mad if a guy's up and controls his opponent and takes him down. Okay? But we are going to get those situations where both guys know, like, the corner's going to be yelling, hey, you're down 10, 30 seconds to go. And you're going to see these guys just, going crazy. Like, every fight's going to have a bigger and bigger climax towards as the clock gets closer to zero. Like, as that clock, just like any other sport, right? Just like when you're watching football or basketball, and as the clock trickles down, you're getting more and more nervous. This happened to me the other night. I'm a huge Florida Panthers fan. We never won the Stanley Cup. I probably don't watch no hockey games during the year, but I've always been a big Florida Panthers fan. We're at the height right now. We got a chance to win. And the other night against the Rangers, that final minute, man, that clock is ticking. We're up 2-1. My heart is pounding. Because we could still give up a goal, go to overtime, and lose. There's been 3 games that went to overtime. It's not a given that we're going to win this thing. But as the clock's getting closer to zero, the crowd's going more and more crazy. Everyone's tensing up. And what do the Florida Panthers do? They get the puck in the corner, and they hold it there for 5 seconds, and the Rangers can't get it, and that clock trickles down. That is part of the game. Just like running the football. Just like that's why they get fouled in basketball, because they're trying to run out the clock. This is going to happen in MMA. But we need a point scoring system. I don't care about open scoring. I don't care to see what the same judges crazy, what happened in the Sean Strickland fight is you're going to be looking up and saying, why do these 2 judges have Sean Strickland way ahead? This judge has Paulo Costa way ahead. It doesn't matter. Strickland still got the fight won. The outcome does not change. A point scoring system changes everything, but you know what? The UFC might never do it, or MMA as a whole. It's not UFC. It's, the commissions probably will never do it because they love that drama at the end where both guys come together and it's like, and new, or, and still, which we would still hear that, but we wouldn't have, that feeling of when a guy wins a decision and you don't know who's going to win and they say, and new, and everyone goes crazy. You would no longer have that because we would know the outcome. But dang it, I think we'd all give up that little spot, 1 out of every 100, 200 fights, to be able to watch that clock trickle down on the other 99 fights and be excited because we don't know how it's going to finish. And both fighters can look at the score and know, just like in any other game on earth, and know, like, dang it, man, we need to stop. We got to stop this 3rd down and 3. They're about to run the ball. We need to stop it, or else we're not getting the ball back and this game is over. They're going to melt the clock. Like, all that drama is bigger than the final decision, which a lot of times leaves us mad and, upset about making changes. So we'll have to wait and see. MMA Softy, or Mr. Softy MMA says, we just need this Conor fight to happen. It makes every fight around so much bigger. It does. It does. Absolutely. Even I can't wait for the Ian Gary fight on that card too. Can't wait for Khamzat and UFC Saudi Arabia. I cannot wait for all these fights coming. The middleweight division is on the rise right now. Oh my goodness. Ariel tweeting like it's still happening, but I don't know. The athletic commissions are the biggest problem with the sport. Yeah, and it's because they're trying to keep it tied with boxing, right? 10 rounds, you got judges, okay. More than likely they're usually going to get it right in 10 to 12 rounds. Three rounds, dude, you're putting a lot of weight round by round, okay? Round by round, you're putting too much weight. If I go out there and crush you in the first round and I'm up 60-10 in significant strikes, you got to do a lot of coming back. That's like being down 28-0 at halftime in football. There's going to have to be a miracle in the next 2 rounds for you to win this fight. You don't just get to lay on a guy for 3 minutes and win 2 close rounds, even though you got dominated in strikes and win the fight. Like, There's got to be, something's got to happen here. And it also puts pressure on these guys that when they're getting dominated on the feet to just be able to go in and get a takedown and hold their opponent down. You can still win that way because you're going to build up time, you know, but the striking has to be a bigger part. It just has to be. They're also the reason for the nonsense weight cutting system. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you just got a lot of factors here that could be changed and should be changed.
He's gon' fight, wait, he's gon' fight, wait, hold your breath till the end of the night. Last fighter call, UFC at its height, yeah. Bringing that thunder with all his might, saying step up, wanna fight, hold up, think twice, gladiator, assassin, reckless, no abandon, walk through that cage, he'll leave your ass